taking a nap. Okay, it's the local liquor commission meeting for May 5th, 7 o'clock in the evening. Let's start with a roll call. Commissioner Weiss,
Present.
Commissioner King,
Present.
Commissioner Wagner.
Present.
I am here. President Patrick is not here this evening. Public comments on agenda items. Do we have anybody that wants to talk about agenda items? Seeing no one. Public comments on non-agenda items? Nobody? Okay. Approval of minutes from the meeting on April 7th. I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for the meeting of April 7th.
Very good.
I'll second that.
And let's take a roll call. Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner.
Yep.
I also vote yes. Moving on to item 5, amendments to the agenda. Does anybody have amendments for the agenda?
I move to strike item 6B from our agenda.
6B?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I ask why?
Okay, well, the village attorney at the last meeting, Board of Trustees meeting, stated that the video gaming was separate from liquor control. So I think that we should reconsider it being in our scope.
Okay. Is there a second? No second? Okay, motion dies for a second. Any other amendments? Hearing none. Number 6, discussion of monthly reports. Do I have any questions or discussion or motions? No? Okay. Moving on to number 7, consider recommending new license for Puerto Nuevo Seafood Mexican Cuisine, 120 West Roosevelt Road. That would be you folks. Would you come to the podium, please?
We here?
Yes, please. How are you this evening?
Very good, sir.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what you're opening, the restaurant you're opening.
When we trying to open?
Yeah, tell me about the restaurant you're gonna open.
Oh, that's the seafood, Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
It's not just seafood, it's something else. We want to have tacos and something else, not really seafood. It's a family restaurant,
Okay.
all kinds of food, not too much, but especially it's a seafood.
Okay.
Maybe like 70% seafood, and then the rest of the Mexican food.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you gonna actually have a bar, a physical bar, or are you just gonna serve alcohol?
The physical meat? Can,
Yeah, come on.
Hello,
Hello.
Mario, can I be the manager?
he's my manager.
And your name is?
My
Mario.
daughter,
I'm sorry, your name is?
Mario
Mario.
Mercado. Mario Mercado.
Spell that, please.
Mercado.
Okay, and I'm sorry, just to be clear, you're Antonio?
Antonio Ochoa.
Okay,
He's the owner.
all right,
Yeah,
so,
I'm the manager. So it's a Mexican food, Baja style restaurant. It's gonna be a bar, but it's gonna be mostly friendly. We are planning to close at 10 p.m., so it's a family restaurant. We're not gonna have any gaming machines or anything like that.
right,
It's probably about 120 people sitting there. We are planning to open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
okay.
And it's gonna be a Baja style restaurant food. I don't know if you guys have passed through there. It's very, very nice. They put a lot of work. It's over like a year now working on the restaurant.
Okay,
And I think it's mostly a family-oriented restaurant.
What kind of drinks do you expect to serve?
Beer, and we're gonna have probably like 6 unique beverage from us, like margaritas, traditional Mexican.
Margaritas, that kind of thing?
Margaritas, couple mixed drinks, but
Okay.
yeah, that's our goal. And, well drinks, whatever people have another drink.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Just, the bar will be opened while the restaurant is open at the same
Correct.
time, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
So there'll be bar service, table service for both beer and wine and as well as hard liquor.
Correct.
For my questions.
Julie, is there supposed to be a spot on this application somewhere for the license they're requesting? The class?
No, I think that's.
Or do we just
kind
give
of
'em whatever?
established From you guys.
Okay.
Well, the front page where it says, "The undersigned hereby makes application for the renewal of a liquor license number," and then typically, at least what I've seen in the past, is that classification of a liquor license is put in that spot there.
Right.
It's blank, but we can,
Recommend.
Recommend
the
something.
appropriate. Yeah. Okay.
This is, yeah, okay. Anybody have other questions for the petitioners?
No,
No?
I don't believe so.
What do we think on the particular class of license?
I would, from what they're describing, from our understanding thus far, I would say a Class E4, restaurant unrestricted.
Quad E.
No, sorry, quad, sorry. Quad E, unrestricted restaurant, no video gaming.
Yeah.
Quad E wouldn't work if they have a bar.
That's what I was thinking. I was looking at a quad I.
There is no quad I, is there?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
I'm
restaurant.
looking at the new ones. I need to look at the old ones.
Yeah, I got the deal.
Yes, I agree, a quad I would be appropriate.
Restaurant, sit-down bar, unrestricted. Class quad I licenses will prohibit video gaming terminals, but shall authorize the sale at retail of alcoholic liquor in restaurants to patrons, the same to be consumed by patrons only at tables or at a bar on the premises described in the license. Patrons are to be served only if they are seated at a table or a bar.
Yep,
Yep.
that's the one.
And then, a restaurant's definition is, any provision of this or any other section relating to alcoholic liquor shall have the same meaning as defined in 1(3)23. No restaurant license shall be issued or reissued unless the sale of liquor produces less than 50% of the total gross receipts of any such restaurants. So your main business
It's
can't
food.
be
Yeah,
alcohol.
yeah, our menu is gonna be food.
Right.
We're thinking 80/20,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah.
So I think the quad I is the most appropriate for this business.
I would agree.
I think I agree. Danielle?
Yeah,
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation?
I would motion to approve it.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Let's take a roll call. Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes?
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. So now this will go to the village board, probably next week. And Julie will be in touch from there, and you go and see them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, I'm appreciative.
Congratulations and good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
To see you guys there.
And tacos. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to 7B, discussion regarding outstanding underage service tickets and settlements. You've all been given a copy of the settlements reached so far. There's, I believe, 9 so far have settled out of 18. We have 9 more to go, and my understanding, Parvy, is that...
That is correct.
You are working to,
Get those resolved, yes.
okay, anybody that chooses to have a hearing will be in June?
June 2nd, yes.
Okay.
Do we expect there to be?
We're trying to get so many settled. We keep getting
Okay.
more and more every day. So hopefully max we'll have is maybe 3 or 4.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
That was June 2nd?
June 2nd.
Yes,
thank you.
Parvy, would you introduce yourself just for
Yes, I'm Purvi Patel. I'm one of the village attorneys representing from Montana and Welch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Tom, I did speak with, I should say, I did receive an email from the state liquor people, and they are willing to work with the police department going forward on a relatively frequent basis, so.
That's great news.
Okay? I just want you to know I did reach out. So, okay. Moving on to C, Village Board meeting suggestions. So you all have this memorandum that we just got our hands on. The Village Board asked us to consider the stuff in this memorandum as potential changes to our ordinances.
Okay.
For item number 1A, I wonder how this is going to work, because, there's three types of businesses. There's a sole proprietorship, there's a partnership, and then there's a corporation.
Right.
If a corporation changes hands by 5%, shareholders change by 5%, then they require a new liquor license. I think that needs to be thought through more. I don't think that's going to be feasible, because what happens if, like a publicly traded company like Applebee's or
That was my first thought as well.
Right.
that, their ownership probably changes 50 times a day if it's a publicly traded company, so that would prohibit a big chain restaurant like Applebee's coming to Villa Park, in other words.
Right.
That's what's already existing.
Mhm.
That's what's already existing. Not contest it.
It's a liquor
Yeah,
code
but
already
they want to
provides
add in the purchaser shall make application for a new license in that situation.
Right.
I think it should be reworded such
Huh?
that, sorry?
I'm sorry, we have trustee Constados here as well. She's,
I was the one who proposed these changes. I did not propose keeping this the same and just adding that one little underline of the purchaser.
okay,
I gave these scenarios because, being a business owner, these are the situations that usually arise. So, and I think you were at the meeting, Tom, to hear it. So usually there's a couple scenarios. You own a bar. Tom owns a bar, okay? Tina wants to buy Tom's restaurant, bar, whatever it is. Tina keeps it Tom's Cafe, okay? I keep the name, I keep the menu, I keep everything. The only thing that's really changing is Tom is leaving and Tina's stepping in. Scenario one. Scenario two would be, like, Tina comes to buy Tom's Cafe, and Tom rents where he's at. Tom's Cafe is closing. Tina comes in, and Tina's gonna put Tina's Bar and Grill, okay? Kind of the same business model. I'm gonna sell similar food, have liquor or whatever, but I'm a different owner, different name of the business and whatnot. That's a second type of scenario. The third scenario is when an existing business holds a liquor license, moves to a different location. The third scenario is when, like, somebody wants to move to a different location. Like, you're currently at one address, and now you want to move to a different address. There's different scenarios when you own a business and somebody else wants to come in and take over and/or buy it and/or replace what's already there. So I never said keeping any of the verbiage. I gave some other examples to the attorney, and then wanted to just present the scenarios to you guys and have you guys look at ways of implementing that. So, yeah, I already know that, like, the 5% is what's already implemented, and to just put the purchaser of corporation shall make an application for a new license. If you just add that in, I agree. It could be something like a chain that's selling or changing hands or whatever. So That's kind of why this was incorporated, was to pass to you guys with those scenarios to come up with a better type of verbiage, so it's more clear and concise on what the process is from start to finish. So that way, somebody coming into one of those scenarios is under the understanding of where they start and how the process goes. Do they need to apply for a new license? Don't they? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Okay. So 1, 2, and 3, that's what you're thinking, 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, those were the scenarios given.
Okay.
Let me see what it says.
I like 2 and 3, I just don't like 1, because if it's a corporation, and there's a new owner, and that it's possible that that new owner is gonna exactly replicate what the previous owner did.
I think any new owner,
They may do something a little bit different,
yeah,
but, I mean, it's possible that they could just completely replicate exactly what the previous owner did, their exact business model. And then there's another case where, like you said, Tom buys Tina's bar and I offer a completely different business. I don't know how we would control for that if we want to give the flexibility of a corporation changing ownership routinely, right, with shareholders. Because it would discourage a lot of big, in my opinion, a lot of big chain-type businesses like Applebee's, TGI Fridays, something like, you know, restaurants like that, that we would like to attract to Villa Park.
right. Well, I definitely agree with you on the 5%.
Yeah.
Not just from that perspective, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, if somebody is going to buy an establishment, typically they're going to make changes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a substantial difference. We're not going to go from a hot dog place to a Chinese restaurant as a normal case. But they may go from a hot dog place to having jumbo hot dogs, or having chili dogs, or having gyros, or whatever. They may change their menus around, their prices, they may remodel, they may change the hours, they may change the name. But substantially, in most cases, you don't buy a business to completely change it. So, and as I see it, if you're buying a business and keeping it substantially the same, and you've passed your background and everything else, there should be no problem with just transferring the license. It should be kind of pro forma. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Maybe we just reword it such that if the business changes its name, then they have to apply for a new liquor license.
Well, is that something that would require a full new application?
Right,
So if I
or
change
just
it from,
background check.
if I change it from Tom's Bar and Grill to Joe's Bar and Grill, do I have to now go through everything all over again? And please, I'm not picking on you, I'm just,
It's possible. I mean, I could offer a completely different setting and business model than Joe's Bar and Grill.
but the business models, if the business model's staying substantially the same. Zach?
I'm thinking in terms of, we're trying to define what is significant enough to change a business, essentially, right? This is like a ship of Theseus thing, right? Like, how much can you remove from it before it becomes something different?
Right.
So I think what we need to do is set a standard, whether it be a name or something along, Like, I think that's what's missing in all of this, is we're trying to, at what point does a business no longer exist as the business it was previously owned under, right? And I think that's really hard to define, but I think that's the challenge in this, of course, is trying to do that. The other question is, are they keeping, because my understanding too, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there's only so many licenses out there, right? So we open a new license for every, so like tonight, for example, we just added a new.
Well, we passed on to the board.
Correct, we're passing on for them to make that, we made a recommendation to the board, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are they keeping the same, are they changing it? I think that's another part of this puzzle, right? Where yes, there's a license out, but let's say they want to go from in quad E to a tri-E or whatever the difference, right? So what is changing when it changes hands also, I think may play a role in this too, whether you want a full new application, because maybe their model is similar in that they want to serve wine and beer, but they no longer want liquor, right? So now it's technically actually a different license that needs to be approved,
Right.
which would require, in my opinion, a full new application regardless. But in this case, is it just, are we saying it's for all intents and purposes the same business, so we're just going to do a background check, pending background check, right? Like, this is where it's getting tricky. And also, even I was reviewing some of the recommendations for changes too. Right now, it's, it talks about, standards are character or reputation, essentially. Well, how do we define what that is, right? When we're making these decisions, I also have a lot of questions. I'm like, by whose standard of character or reputation are we talking here, right? So in other words, there's a lot of vagueness, is what I'm seeing in our current setup, and we're trying to pull it together. And so that's where I think these are good conversations. I think they need to be ongoing conversations to determine how much of a change changes fundamentally what a business is. Is it a different license? Like if they're looking for the same license, right, and they're keeping the same location, is that a different business, right? I don't know. I'm trying to process all of this, but I agree. I think as put together, we have some work to do. But I'm still questioning the larger standards of character and reputation kind of language, which is vague at best. Under whose standards are we deciding that? So I think what we need to do is create standards for understanding what defines a business, what changes a business if it changes ownership and those things.
I do really like items 2 and 3.
Right.
That a location, I think, is key, because if we have a business move to a residential street, for instance, and, that may not be appropriate to have a liquor license, right? I think that, I like the location, and I like the fact that, if the business ceases operation, it can't be transferred to another business.
Yeah.
But I don't know how one would be enforced.
Yeah, well, when it comes to moving, the tricky part, there's two tricky parts as I see it. Number one is making sure that new location is appropriate for that type of business. You may not, for example, it may be zoned where it is appropriate, but not really what we want as a village. It may not work with our comprehensive plan, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be my concern there. And it could also be moving into an area where, I don't really have a great example, but maybe it's a place with a bar with gaming, and it's going to move in between a daycare center and a karate studio.
Or a church.
Or a church. Well, the church, it can't.
us out
It's
of
got to
this,
be
okay,
on the
guys?
feet.
Yeah.
It's got to be so
Leave
many.
us out of this.
Yeah. But I see that as a little bit different. My first concern is simply somebody that wants to buy an existing business and keep it substantially the same. Now, Zach's right. I think the question becomes, what is substantially
What's
the same?
substantially the same?
But
Is there a legal understanding of what is substantially the same,
yeah, we got a lawyer.
You have a lawyer here.
So that's kind of what we're trying to decide, right? We're trying to see if the legal entity stays relatively the same.
Right.
From what I understand from the code, I don't know if the code specifically says that your name on the license is tied. It's kind of tied, right? So you do have to kind of have the new owner come in and at least put in an application with their new business name, even if they're not applying for a whole new license.
Right.
So then we have to think about, can we do, like, the transfer? Just because it's a name, we just make them do a new liquor license. But then what if we do, like, a transfer ordinance that you guys can recommend at some point?
Right.
So then the name change goes into the ordinance, maybe.
Yeah,
I like that
I agree.
idea.
I do too.
Yes.
Rather than a full new application to say that, they've proven that by and large, this is essentially the same business, or it meets whatever that standard is, it's acknowledged as such, rather than having to submit a whole new application, there's a separate transference
Well,
that can occur.
Yeah, but I would still say whoever is coming in, say they're buying the new business, right? And that's a whole new owner for us. I would still say, let's have them fill out a liquor application, but that liquor license is still tied with that original business. So we're just gonna transfer that over to their name, but given that they meet the Bassett training, they meet fingerprinting,
Background.
all that.
Right.
I would say that might be a suggestion to keep in mind.
Well, and that's kind of the way I'm looking
That's
at
what
it.
yeah, that's what I heard.
If I own a bar, Joe's Bar and Grill,
Yep.
and I'm gonna sell it to somebody, who's gonna keep it, and I know you love this phrase, substantially the same. And they meet all of the background information, they pass all of that. You diminish the value of my business if the village can then say, oh, no, we don't like this business anymore.
Right.
Because it's gonna be Tony's Bar and Grill, and we don't like the name Tony.
Well, I don't think we can do that. That's not, I wouldn't consider that.
But you get the gist of what
reasonable.
I'm-
Yeah, let's say it's a reasonable standard then. So then I think an ordinance might solve that issue, keeping everything the same. Tony goes to Joe's Bar now. But Joe has to fill out the entire liquor application again, but Tony still holds that license, so we're not going away and essentially getting rid of that license, so we don't have to repeal and remove that license and then re-add it.
Right.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to ask. So the way, and I understand that licenses are done here, right, is like we've discussed, right, they're added. There's not like open ones just existing out there,
Right.
right?
Don't-
Each is
yeah.
married to a business.
Correct.
So what I'm hearing, and this makes a lot of sense, then I think this may help us in this, is with this transference ordinance, what that would allow essentially is to ensure that you don't have to go through the process of repealing, removing one to then have to issue a whole new one. You can say, it was determined by this, through recommendation by this committee to the board, approved therefore by the board, that they are substantially the same. Again, we can deal with that later, but
Yep.
they're substantially the same, therefore we're going to transfer the one that exists. So that way you're not pulling one out and adding one. It does simplify
So one
that
is not,
part.
one is not floating out there.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
But at the same time, I understand what you're saying. Having a full application would make sense because the application includes the background check pieces and all that.
So what if Joe now doesn't meet it because he has a
Correct.
felony from
Correct.
9 years ago?
Yeah. No, I think that would help, and to me, that is something that I think that should be considered, and we'd have to figure out what that looks like and how to put it together, obviously,
Right.
to recommend it to the board, but I think that that's a worthwhile endeavor, for sure.
So how would your suggestion work with a publicly traded company?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that. Because, yeah, publicly traded company would be,
Well, yeah, and what happens, let's take a publicly traded company that gets bought outright, and it's all staying the same, but the company itself gets bought by a different company.
that's a good question. I would need to even think about that. Because that ordinance transfer, would we make them do a whole new application at that point? That's a lot of moving parts at that point.
Right.
It's not simple, it's not simple as like a family-owned,
Well, especially because
Yeah.
the company's being bought, but it's still
still the same.
XYZ Inc.
Yeah.
that's being bought. The name's not changing or anything like that.
Every day. That's a lot of people.
A lot of meetings.
Yes. But then you break it down to a smaller corporation,
Yeah.
and so now we're gonna take, let's say I have Joe's Bar and Grill and Tom owns 20% of it, and and Tom wants to sell his 20% to Zach. Now what do? Do we have to go through the whole
Right.
thing
Do I
over
have to
again?
redo it?
New application? Or do we just run a background on Zach and add him to the license?
Is Zach the owner?
He would be.
I would be.
He would be a minority.
A minority,
I think it would make more sense for him to run the background test and
Yeah.
just
Do a
And
transfer.
just
do a
ordinance.
transfer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this gets back to the transfer idea, it's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think transferring is probably,
I have a question about the transfer.
Yeah,
Okay, so you said
Dana.
something you had made from,
Sorry, you had made a comment, when doing the transfer, like the business name would change, but the person, doesn't the license have an individual's name and the business on it?
I think that's what
So
I wasn't clear?
wouldn't it make sense for any situation to automatically close out whatever's old and have the new person automatically reapply rather than transferring anything, because the name has to match, the business has to match, we still have to do a background check anyways, so it's all still the same process. And I get that we would have to close to reopen, but we close to reopen anyways all the time, so, I
Yeah,
mean.
but then they're losing business in the interim. Because you're closing the license, no?
And you're adding steps. So the
Well,
question now
I
becomes,
thought
is it worthwhile?
that, and I could be mistaken, I would have to check with Ryan, but I thought Ryan said when a business closes, the license automatically closes anyways. That's what I'm pretty sure he had told me.
It does.
That's
does.
why I was
But if there's a transfer.
confused.
I think they're not talking about closing the
Right.
business. I
I
think
think
it's
they mean
just,
like closing as opposed to he's buying my business. Because then you're gonna have a gray period where then the business can't be open because there's no license.
Right, such as the
Right.
Chinese restaurant on St. Charles closed.
But both the name and business would be transferred, the new name of the owner and the business. So the old business or the old owner, I'm just making sure would not be on any of the, just clarifying that, because I thought.
yeah, no.
Okay,
If we
The
don't
old
just-
one would be gone as a whole, and the new names would be on the new license.
Yeah, I'd be more concerned about the gray period. What does the
Right.
business do in the interim while all of this is happening?
Right.
If you have to close the current license while the other licensed gets seen through with us and the board, you're talking possibly months of no business. If you're-
Exactly.
You're ideally shutting down a business temporarily.
well, I think that is kind of what comes into play on number 4.
I was just gonna say, I do really appreciate 4.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Because
kind
one
of where
the
that comes in.
Concerns, and I think you alluded to this, Joey, is the valuation, right? So when you're
Right.
buying a business, the valuation would probably include whatever that business model is. You're
Right.
going under the presupposition, right, that you're gonna be able to function in a similar fashion, I would assume.
Right.
So I think one of the things that would be very helpful, and I don't know if the village has ever done this, I'm assuming not, based on the fact this is a suggestion for doing things differently. I think having something like this on there would be extremely helpful, so that when, say, a transfer is being maybe a request or something, they can have assurances, right? Or when a new business were to come into town, there are certain levels of assurances that can be given to a degree at least to say, this is viable, or this is what we're going to recommend you to the board. Again, we don't have power on this committee. That's one of the hard parts, right? All we can do is make recommendations. We do the background stuff. But I do think having a number 4 would be pivotal in all of these scenarios to ensure that there's safety nets for people as they're starting a new business or transferring an old one, whatever that might
Are
mean.
you talking about this number 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it would definitely.
Here's my
help.
problem, here's my first problem with the number 4. It adds a whole nother step to
Absolutely.
every change in license.
Yeah, I get
The
it.
second problem that I have is this is exactly what happened with Lena's when they applied. They went to the village board, they got a tacit approval without an issuance of a license. They invested all kinds of money to redo the building, came back to get the license, and the board said no.
Really?
So I have a problem
Okay.
with that kind of a scenario. Now, when we, as I, I'll get to you in a second, Tom. As I see it, we're kind of talking about a few different things. When we're talking about essentially a transfer, I don't even necessarily, if it's staying in the same location, staying substantially the same, I don't even know that that necessarily needs to go to the village board for final approval. We're not issuing a new license.
Right.
Keep in mind
I
that
hear
the
what you're saying.
village board actually only changes the number of licenses.
Correct.
They
I
don't
understand.
approve or disprove any one particular location. So that's a part of just the way it works. It's the liquor commissioner themselves, in our case, the village president, who actually makes the ultimate decision. So
Okay.
we're here to vet the process and make sure that they're going the way we want them to go, but we also don't want to make it unnecessarily cumbersome. I don't think. Tom?
The way the ordinance is written, there's a set allotment, and that's shown in the Village Code of Ordinances, section 3.
Yeah.
Section 313, that there's a set allotment for each number of licenses. And the liquor commissioner, President Patrick, is free to issue liquor licenses within that set allotment. And if we want to change that set allotment, that has to go as an ordinance change to the village board.
Right.
So I don't understand how 4 is going to work, because our process right now is there's a set allotment of Class AAA licenses, 3. I'm looking at the ordinance right now.
Right.
There's set allotment for AA licenses, 10. And the liquor commissioner, President Patrick, has the authority to issue liquor licenses, provided that it is under that number 10 for a AA license per se. And if new business comes up and there's already 10 liquor licenses active out there, and we want 11, that's an ordinance change that has to go to the village board. That's how it works.
Right, that's exactly correct. And even though they typically do bring it to the village board, you're right in the aspect that outside of other ordinances that would control if President Patrick took an application from you, he could, and got board approval to add a license, and he also had an application from me, he could give it to me. There's nothing holding him to a specific, who to issue the license to.
Well, like Trustee Gonzalez, you brought up in the board meeting that that's what Lombard does, right? There's a set allotment of liquor licenses, and I kind of whispered saying that we already do that.
Yeah, all towns pretty much do.
So we have a set allotment for a number of liquor licenses, and Kevin has the authority to give anyone provided that that number's in that set allotment. And if you guys want to go over that, then that's an ordinance change that goes to the board.
I think from what was explained to me, Lombard has like a cap, almost. This is what I was told. No,
Yeah,
I don't, right. We don't necessarily, I believe, have a cap saying,
Yes, we do.
Yes.
We have the same thing Lombard does.
so we've had a cap this whole time?
Yeah,
If we exceed that cap, it goes to you guys and the village board, and as in the ordinance change.
Right, I get that.
If
We
you look
have
at
to
our-
always open up another one in order, I get that, but I'm not sure that Lombard works that way. I think that,
Towns do,
okay,
yeah. It's the way that the village board has their hands in it. Technically, I believe, Parby, under state law, all liquor licenses are actually issued by the president, right?
Yeah, he can choose.
He can choose.
right.
Yeah.
He can do what he
I'm
wants,
not-
but he chooses to go
Right.
through the board.
No, what I was gonna say is that the way the village board stays involved is they control how many licenses
Yeah.
there are.
It's a checks
Right.
and
Right.
balances.
So they look and they say, in our
That's
case,
a change.
yeah, they say a Class A license, there's 20 available. When 20 are filled, then they gotta come to the board and ask for a change to get to 21.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we had X amount open and then filled them and then added more?
Well,
In
we
the
add
past?
we add one or subtract one every time there's a
Right.
license.
So if we've done that every time,
We have.
then how did we have so many to fill and then ask? You see what I'm saying when you say allotted? Basically, how I'm hearing that is like, let's just say there's 10 allotted for a Class A, okay? That means we have 10 to give out. Say we got 6, we still got 4 left to go, okay? Now we get the 4 in, now we're at 10, now we have to ask for more. But I thought we always have to ask for
Do it
more
one by one.
regardless.
So there's never.
Right, one by
like
one.
that, yeah.
So I'm not understanding where we say there's an allotment, because if,
There is a limit. We can only, and I don't know what the number is, but
Per the ordinance.
per the ordinance right now, there's X number of A licenses,
okay,
okay? We cannot issue another A license until the village board says,
we're gonna
well, that
open
number
another
is
one.
now one more.
I get that.
Or if a place was to close,
We remove.
then you would remove one. So if it says 20 now, and I want to open a place, the board has to add and make it 21. If I have a license already and I close without anybody replacing me, then you're going to change the 20 to 19. So it just goes up and down by one at a time.
Right. I get it goes up and down by one at a time, but again, I'm saying like, if there's an allotment, let's say there's 10 allotted, and I guess I'm just not understanding the way that works. Because to me, it's like an allotment means that's what you have to start. So like if you have, let's say, an allotment of 10, and you have 10 places that already have it, and you have 3 that close, you still have 3 that you can pass out before you have to extend any more. That's how I'm thinking allotment works.
Typically,
Can
what
I be
happens is the
recognized,
board.
please? I've had my hand up
I'm
for a
sorry,
while.
Tom. I'm sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
So, yes, you're right. So if you have 10, 3 go out of business, and then the liquor commissioner has 3 extra licenses, he can issue without going through the board. If, let's say, for instance, but basically what has been happening is when an allotment is exceeded, the ordinance is written such that, okay, let's increase, this business wants to change from a Class A to a Quad A license. So the ordinance would be written, let's increase the Quad A and simultaneously decrease the.
Correct.
The other single A. And that's how it's been written or done in the really recent past. I mean, you as a trustee can make an amendment to that ordinance and say, I don't want to decrease the Class A licenses, but I want to increase the Quad A. And then Kevin has an extra license he can issue without going through anybody.
Okay, I understand that better.
And my understanding is,
Yeah.
that's the way it basically works throughout the state. Harvey, do you know of any place that doesn't work that way?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's what I was trying to listen to her as well. For our liquor licenses, I was just seeing how much each one has. Some of them have 0, so the ones that have 0 or start off with 0 are the ones that we go in and we get approved and get recommended from the board, through you guys and then to the board.
This is not current. This needs to be updated.
I know. No,
Like-
I'm
like
just saying
there's-
whatever is typically starting off with 0.
But like, for
Yeah,
instance.
no, I'm not saying that these numbers are correct.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general, that's how it starts off. I'm assuming.
Okay.
So, okay, do we want to table this to the next meeting so we can all kind of chew on this and come up with some ideas on our own?
Substantially the same, yeah.
Like I said, I don't like number 1. I don't know how that would work.
I agree.
And number 2 and 3, yes, I really like those. Number 4, I don't necessarily like either because
Yeah.
we have the allotment and, so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I guess what I'm, with number 4, I agree. I don't know, I understand the allotment. I guess my question is, if you're a business coming in, right, at what point in the process do you come before the board and get your guarantee? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard, right? You just gave a scenario where there was a tacit agreement that wasn't followed through.
Right.
I guess my thing is, how much risk tolerance do you have then as a business that might be seeking to come in? Are you going to go through a full application process with the fee, with the background check, before you know you're going to root your business here, right? So I look at 4, I agree, I don't think 4 works necessarily as applied in this situation, but I think the spirit of 4 is something that we should consider. Is there a way to do it where we could give greater assurances? Because I just think, like, if I'm going to come here, let's just say I'm coming to open a business, at what point in the process should I then be asking or even full-on applying? Because if all I get is a tacit agreement, and you gave a scenario where that was pulled back, I would assume that would totally undermine the entire business model itself. But if I've already closed on a place or, applied for a business license and done, in other words, it really feels like a large risk coming in. So I would agree with what we're saying, that I think, of course, 4 as written doesn't quite work with what we have, but I just would encourage, is there a way to be able to do that where you can give those assurances or some level of that without having to go through the full process? Because we see that process as a big one.
There are 2 off the top of my head.
Okay.
One is that you can apply for a license, pay for the license, and hold the license until you get your construction done.
Okay.
So that's number 1. Number 2, if you believe that there's some reason that you would want the board to give you that tacit approval, you can always go to the board and request it on your own.
Wait, I'm gonna counter that, because you have to sign a lease before
Right.
you can get.
Before you can
But
apply
you
for a
can-
business, for
right,
the
but you-
Or you
license.
can apply for a license, and if I sign my lease and I'm opening a restaurant/bar and the village tells me no, then I'm screwed.
Well, the problem is,
I
that's,
can't just turn it into like a retail store.
right, that's the problem. Julie?
Prior years back, the process was if somebody wanted to open a liquor, or open a bar or whatever, they had to email the liquor commissioner, who was the president. And that said president was then to go talk to trustees and see if it was kind of something they would be interested in. But it wasn't like a formal, these people came to the board meeting and said, hello, every trustee and president, this is like what we want to do. It was kind of like they were just kind of talking amongst themselves whether we would like this or not. So it wasn't an actual formal thing of them coming here, so.
Where they could come here and it could almost be like a consensus. And you can't really say, compare it to the Lena situation, because there was a lot more involved in that than the board just saying no to something they proposed. Their entire plan had changed. So there was more involved in that as to why that didn't go through, as when they first made the proposition as to what the business model was gonna be.
I mean, and I don't know who's, at this point in time, even who's in charge of establishing what kind of class license, like we just did. I mean, if they came and presented their idea, the board talked about it and whatever, and said, assuming your background comes back okay, and you get all your stuff, like, we're in favor of it. I mean, that could be something, it's not really an extra step, because like you said, here's people who have no idea what they're doing, signing leases, spending money, remodeling, doing all this stuff, and then they finally get here and, oh, nope, you can't have one.
Yeah, it's more of a coming before the board, explaining your business model and asking the board if they would be willing to open another license for that. And then obviously we're in a board meeting, it's being videoed, we take a consensus. And it would also be with the understanding that that person follows through with what they're presenting. Because then if they come back and start to do something totally different from the business model they presented, well, then of course, they may not get the license because they did not stick to what they proposed as well.
But what happens if the membership of the board changes in the interim and this new board doesn't want to approve it? Now the village, I would imagine, is liable, potentially, because we said yes and then said no. And they invested a bunch of money on our yes. And the next question would be, what are we doing here? You want to kind of jump the gun and get the village board involved before we're involved. So what are we doing here? Why are we involved?
I guess in my eyes, it would then go immediately to you guys with an application to start the process of looking into the background and whatever. And then, like you said, they could always get their license right away and then start their construction and whatnot. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I'm just, as a business owner, I'm throwing it out there because
Right.
I've seen it happen. I've heard of it happen, and I know how it can happen, so I'm just trying to think of a way to prevent that as well from being an issue that comes up over and over again.
Jack? I got you, Tom.
Yeah, I think the way I hear it, and maybe the process, I think to reorient, Joey, to what you just said too, maybe it's establishing there can be a different way of thinking as far as an advisory versus an application, right? In other words, tonight was an application, right? What we had earlier, they submitted a full application, we asked them questions and all that. Is there a possibility that our committee could serve in an advisory role where if you would contact us in advance, you can be on an agenda and you can say, I'm looking to do this, and we can ask similar questions, and in an advisory, in other words, we're just listening and saying, based on what we're hearing, this is the type of license we would recommend for you. We can't make promises for you, but it sounds like you're heading in the right direction. When you're ready, we would encourage you to apply. It's not guaranteeing anything, but
That's
it's helping to guide them towards the right
That's exactly what
license.
happened last meeting with Foremost Liquor.
This is what I'm getting at, right? So in other words, but how do we encourage new businesses or people to understand? I think to me, having an advisory ability to do it without a full application would be helpful, just to give guidance and to help. I think that is one of the roles that we can play as a committee, is guidance for how can you be successful, right? What are the things? And to listen and say, it sounds to me like you need to work out your business model, or it sounds to me like you're looking for a gambling license, which we just can say anecdotally may not find its legs in the next approval process, right? So I would wonder if encouraging those sorts of things may be helpful, and, rather than a full application like tonight, like you said last meeting, an advisory one might be helpful, but to put it out there that that is an option for new businesses or potential businesses to say, we're happy to encourage you to get yourself on our agenda. We would listen. We make no guarantees because we don't have the ultimate say anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But what we can do is listen and encourage and say, this is what we're hearing, and then, again, trustees can watch this and have their own sets of questions or be prepared for that. I think that is something we can provide that does reorient, that we do have a role in this
Right.
to do that legwork and background. So I think, to me, what I'm hearing, somehow create a way where people can come in for advisory help, not just, I'm ready to apply.
Well, and that's my
Or have
point.
applied.
Foremost did it.
Yeah, and I think that was
Meeting.
good.
They didn't have an application.
Correct, and I like
They-
that.
And they were preparing one, and we gave them the advice,
Yeah.
and we told them the village board doesn't have any appetite for more gaming.
Correct, right.
So if that's your plan,
Yep.
then let's not do it.
Okay.
We gave them exactly what you're referring to.
Advisory, right,
And they are, I believe, in the process of their background now, but,
Right. Okay.
so
Good.
that's exactly what we are already doing.
And I think that could fit for 4, right?
And if
Some
it was
level of that.
something very extreme,
Right.
let's say somebody wanted to open up a bikini bar or something like that, they can do the same thing at the village board level. They can go to the village board and say, listen, before we invest money in buying this property,
Okay.
would you guys, be willing to consider it? So there's nothing to stop anybody from doing that. That's happened before as well. Tom, you had a,
Yeah, I think that it would be responsible for someone starting a business to formulate a business model, apply for a liquor license, and then invest capital after they get approval for the liquor license, not invest capital prior
Right.
to getting the liquor license, because there's a risk in terms of if the government will give you the liquor license, and if your business model is dependent on that, then that's not in my thinking, is not a practical way to start a business.
Danielle?
My only rebuttal to that is you can't get a license without a lease or a space.
Right.
So they have no choice but to invest before they apply for.
I think we're hitting the problem here.
So, they're kind of screwed either way.
There is a
You know.
cart and horse issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as far as the foremost, the liquor place, I'm gonna say the only reason why they knew to come and ask first is because they said they own several locations. So from experience, they know. Not everybody who's starting a business for the first time knows to come to like the board or to the liquor commission or, people that just left.
Well, there's a certain part of my counter to that would be, you should know that to go in, before you go into business, and if you don't,
Investigate, yeah,
I mean, you know what insurance you have to get, you have to investigate that, you have to, what local licenses do you need, not just liquor, but whatever other kinds of things you might need, permits, et cetera, et cetera. And there's all kinds of stories of people who've gone through and built without getting permits and then had to take it all down. So, these things do happen. Tom?
Maybe there's, before a business signs a lease for a place to open a restaurant or a bar, maybe they can apply for like a provisional license. Maybe we need
Yeah.
something like that in our code of ordinances, so that if there isn't a long-term desire for the community for that business to continue and to operate with their liquor distribution or gaming or whatever, then it can discontinue, but the business owner doesn't invest significant capital for that.
I would also question if any other towns do this. What's the standard? Because as far as I know, we're kind of the standard. Parf, you know,
Research
That's
we need
something
to
we
do.
gotta research.
is that something we can find out if
We
there's?
can find out, for sure.
Or maybe there's some kind of memorandum of understanding that could be put in place such that, you know, that the business owner can get some kind of understanding from the village government that they can proceed with the business, and then the next step is to officially apply for liquor license once they do secure a property.
Okay.
Something to circle back to.
Yes. Do we want to table this until next meeting?
Please.
Yes.
Yes? Do I have a motion for that?
Yes.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So we'll bring this back to the June meeting.
It's warm in here. Very warm in here.
Discussion of signage enforcement. This is just a quick note. They are revisiting everybody that they sent, and when I say they, I'm talking about code enforcement. They are visiting every location that they had sent violation notices to in order to find out who has complied with the violation ordinance and who hasn't. And those who haven't complied will be getting tickets and have to appear at the adjudication court. If they continue to do so, they may get referred to us for further enforcement action. Yes?
I just want to clarify that the signage enforcement that's being enforced is not something that the Liquor Commission up here has created and
No.
set forth. It's something that's in the ordinance, so that, that's just straight on the record, that that's not something we just came up with. Because that is what is, I've heard on the street, that this is being told that this is the Liquor Commission doing it, and it's actually the ordinances that were set in the village prior to this commission coming on. We're just ensuring enforcement,
Right.
so.
Okay. Moving on to E, discussion of proposed ordinance amendments from village attorney. This is the packet with the yellow guys. All right, anybody want to open up?
Should we just go down the line instead of jumping around?
What fun would that be? Okay, the first item talks about changing the commission here a little bit. And effectively what it's gonna, all it's gonna do is president will come off of the commission since the commission gives recommendations to him. And would just add an additional member to replace him.
Wouldn't it be appropriate for the liquor commissioner, who's also the village president, to be engaged in this commission?
He can still be engaged as much as he chooses, but in his mind, we're here to give him recommendations, because ultimately, he signs off on everything we do.
Okay, so who's our village board liaison?
He would be,
Okay, so he's still required to come to our meetings?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and he would just no longer be a voting member effectively,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then we would appoint somebody to replace him. So this also talks about just, he chooses a chairperson and whatnot, so, really not much difference.
Just adding on one person.
And
Right.
Changing voting.
Anybody have a problem with that?
Nope.
Not really.
No? Okay.
Do you want to comment on the current ones? I do like the name changes to class, like A1, class A2, class A3, instead of triple quad.
I do too.
So, I think I'll start on a positive note. That I really like. It's just less confusing.
Yes.
I don't know if that's just my brain that doesn't work, but the quad and the triple, I get too confused.
It gets confusing, absolutely,
I
to
second
remember.
that, yes.
I agree.
So that, A+.
I mean, if we're gonna go classification by classification, right, so the A's are all the taverns. These are pretty reasonably easy to understand the way they're written. I was able to quickly go through and determine what the differences are, right? Gaming, no gaming, the ability of beer, wine, or unrestricted, right? So those terms are helpful.
Right.
And unrestricted is full pour, I'm guessing? Is that the same?
Correct.
That would be
Terminology?
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
And so my feeling, again, I had no questions on the tavern ones because I think these are pretty straightforward and it's pretty clear what the difference is. I know last meeting I'd recommended maybe a tool we could develop is some sort of matrix where you can check boxes and say, and it would be very easy to put something like that together for this, you know, allows this, doesn't allow that kind of a thing, and you can find yourself and quickly kind of cross-reference it. So I think these ones, as recommended, in some similar form, are an improvement over what we have.
I do want to point out that this is actually a reduction in the number of, number of classes, because right now we have, and forgive me if I reverse these, a Class A does not allow package sales, a Class AA does allow package sales, otherwise they're the same license. This incorporates package sales into all A licenses, but merely sets a limit. And I don't know if the 20% is an appropriate amount yet. I'd like to talk to Lunar and to Moore and Standard Meadery and make sure that that number works with them. I don't know how much they sell in package. So I'd like to discuss that with them to see if the 20% is an appropriate number. I'm sorry, I know you had your hand up. What?
I forgot. I'm good.
Okay, good. It's,
But I agree, we should talk to,
Right.
those businesses that do sell their product to go.
yes. Tom?
What's the rationale behind video gaming is allowed but may only be active while alcohol service is in operation? Is that to limit the video gaming window, or in terms of time, only when alcohol can legally be served?
Where are we at here?
All of them have this, all of the A licenses.
Okay.
Regular operation and package sales, so.
So more of a question for.
I think the concern was that somebody could leave the gaming open all night
More of a question.
without alcohol.
More of a question for Montana Welsh. So, you know the rationale behind that?
So it's saying that, gaming should only be permitted while tavern is in regular operation.
But then it says, wow, alcohol service is in operation. I would have to ask Ryan, because I think he made that comment in it, because we went back and forth on that.
So that's just to prohibit like 24-hour gaming facilities.
Well, yeah, because at certain point, alcohol service in our code is cutoff period as at some point, right?
At 2 a.m. or,
Yeah, so 2 a.m. would be probably the max. We don't want somebody to run a gaming establishment 24/7.
Right.
would it be more appropriate to just define the time window
We
for
could,
gaming?
But each establishment has a different time. So what if some are open till 10 p.m. and then others are open till 2 a.m.?
You could say no later than 2 a.m.
We could do something like that. Yeah.
I do have a concern. I'm kind of back and forth on this part, but the last portion where it says that no A1 shall issue unless you've had another license for at least 18 months.
Yeah, it's like almost like a step-up program.
Yeah, and I like the idea of that because then we get to know the people a little bit, but conversely, what if somebody wanted to open a crazy pour on Roosevelt Road? We're going to tell them they can't have gaming
For a year and a half.
for a year and a half? That might keep that business out. So I'm just raising that as something to consider.
But that seems like across the board, almost every step, Class E's too, you have to have, or no, is that only Class A?
No, it's an E, E as well.
The E will
as
have this,
well.
E has the same thing, yeah.
18 months, 18 months, 18 months.
Tom?
You could put a provision in there saying the 18-month period could be waived by the village board or,
Yeah,
you know.
we could do that.
If needed.
Would that raise any issues legally?
No.
All right.
Okay.
So are we done with the tavern licenses, or do we want more discussion on the tavern licenses? That's all I had.
Restaurants.
Where you at?
Are we moving on to restaurants, or?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
We're.
Should we look at should we review the actual definition of a restaurant first before we start talking about
I
restaurants?
agree,
Yeah.
I agree.
There we go.
Last one. Okay, so the current definition is, let me place, okay, no, here we go. For purposes of Chapter 3, restaurant shall mean any public place kept, used, maintained, advertised, and held out to public as a place where meals are actually and regularly prepared, cooked, and served on the premises for immediate consumption without sleeping accommodations. Such place shall have adequate and sanitary kitchen and dining room equipment and capacity, and shall have employed therein a sufficient number and kind of employees to prepare, cook, and serve suitable for its guests. Video gaming at the sale of alcohol shall be secondary to that of food service. In addition, a restaurant shall maintain a full-service kitchen with equipment necessary to prepare meals to order, employ sufficient staff to prepare and serve food, provide suitable indoor seating and tables for dining, not primarily offer prepackaged or ready-to-eat food, ensure that a full kitchen food service is available to the public during all operating hours while alcoholic liquor is served, except the final 2 hours before closing. And the current definition, the paragraph above it, is that being striked? Or, okay, this is just for note, for reference. Yeah, I guess my opinion, okay, the 50% thing, I kind of like that because that would basically require a business to have their main business model being a restaurant, and if they're under a restaurant license, they should obtain most of their revenue from profits or revenues from food sales and not alcohol or gaming. So I do like the fact that it was restricted last time to 50% of the total gross receipts. Now, I understand the problem with that is that 50% of the total gross receipts also includes video gaming, so maybe we can, at least I would personally like it to, something, a provision in this definition to say the alcohol must remain less than 50% of the total gross receipts for food sales, or less than the total gross receipts of food sales. Because right now, the proposed definition basically just says a restaurant has to be, there just has to be some place that serves food, not necessarily the fact that the main business has to be a restaurant that serves food.
Well, and this does go into saying not primarily offer prepackaged or ready-to-eat food. The trouble I have with the 50% is it's almost impossible to verify.
That's my only question.
If you don't have somebody who understands the restaurant business well, then, that's sitting in our chairs, then they may never know if a place actually has that percentage.
Maybe we could, that businesses could be audited.
Yeah, but how would you know, for example, that food service is more than 50% if they cook their books?
Well, that would be unethical if they cook their books.
Well, but how would you know if they even did it? And I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm saying it's very easy to do. Right.
I don't think we would get into that. I mean, that's a whole other situation if they falsify their records.
What I think what Tom is saying, there needs to be some established
I agree.
set that you can't serve all this liquor and not have food to be a restaurant. So
I
I agree
agree.
with that.
I agree.
I think it's one of these situations where I understand that it's hard to enforce necessarily, but I think it is not something we're doing at all times with every business. I think you take it on a per business, so if there's a question, you could do that, or at least open that up. I understand what you're saying, but if they're cooking books, then that's a crappy restaurant. But I would say, to me, I think leaving in some sort of a standard, just so you have a standard with which to hold them to.
If we need to.
Correct. And I think we've also discussed in the past, one of the challenges of these numerical standards is the fluctuation, right? That there may be instances or maybe seasons or times of year or certain scenarios in which so I think as we're learning tonight, there's a lot of gray area in what we do, but I think having a set standard that we can at least hold them accountable to in the case that there is an issue. So I don't think removing these, because not only is it removed from the definition of restaurant, but if you look in the Class E restaurant licenses, it's removed explicitly in those as well. So I would personally agree with you all that I would leave it in, knowing it's not a perfect metric, but it's not something we're using at all. It's a metric, and it's a standard to which you can hold someone in case there's an issue. My hope is we're not running into these issues, but it would give us some way of saying, you're no longer operating under a restaurant. You should not have a restaurant license because you're not operating as one, is what I'm saying.
And it would include gaming
It would,
in that revenue?
So
you go ahead.
So, to answer Commissioner Wagner's concern, I think we should say less than the total gross receipts of the food sales on average over a year. And I think that we should make the presumption that, businesses are going to act ethically and report accurate numbers, because if they don't, then they're opening up themselves to other liabilities that we don't even get into.
Well, that's true, but our enforcement part is to deal with the stuff that's not ethical. Do we want our hands tied because we don't see something?
Well, basically, what you're talking about is fraud, so I don't think that would be, I think somebody else would handle that, not this commission.
Well, there is actually a line of provision in here. If you look, section 330922, a person who knowingly makes a false statement, misrepresentation, or omission of material fact in any application, renewal report, or other submission to the local
Yes.
liquor control commission. So we do have it in there that you shouldn't be lying to us. And again, I don't know what else to do with that, Tom.
Yes.
I like.
I'm just wondering if there's a better metric that we
I don't
can come up
know.
with.
I don't know. I think maybe, but I think if we're just talking about what a restaurant is, I mean, I love that we have 85 paragraphs to essentially say they serve mainly food. And I think that is a good starting point, right? That at least half your receipts are a result, and I like that on average over a year. So you give a time span so that you're not able to say, oh, well, you're December,
Yeah.
because you could do that too. So I think I view our position as always trying to be benevolent towards businesses and encouraging businesses, right? And so I think, assuming that they're going to work ethically with us, I want to give as much opportunity to play on a level playing field with them and give them every opportunity to succeed.
But have something there just
Correct.
in case.
In the event, and that's where I'm coming from. So to me, I just think, I appreciate your addition,
Yeah.
I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. On average over a year, gives us a chance. We may never actually have to look at that metric. And if you come up with one, then we can change it down the line. I think that's the other thing I would always offer. when we change these things, we're obviously changing them now, it means they can be changed again in the future. So if we find that there are loopholes, or if we find that there are struggles with this, it shouldn't stop us from making changes, but it should also, we shouldn't let perfection get in the way of making substantive change as we go and learning together to build this as we go, because there's a lot here to tackle. So we have to, I would say, take some level of onus that this is not going to be perfect, how we pass it initially, so.
Commissioner King?
It never is perfect.
Right.
I mean, I think that we should do a year average, because there is fluctuations. If the Bears win the Super Bowl, then
When did they win the Super Bowl?
Maybe the alcohol goes up a little bit?
exactly. then that forces the business to make up for it the subsequent months, right? Otherwise, they need to apply for a different liquor license.
Okay. Section 305, basically what this proposal is would be to require a background check every 5 years instead of once at the beginning of their license and then never again. That would not interrupt their business. If the background doesn't show anything, it won't have any effect.
It also has language in it that, again, such updated investigation may be required as a condition of license renewal, so it doesn't sound like it is absolutely required, it may be required. Is that the intention of this, is to make it optional, or is it a firm requirement every 5 years? Because those are two very different things. That word "may" holds a lot of water when you're
Yeah.
writing
Nice
May
legal
is-
documents.
May is optional.
Right.
Yes.
So is it,
But then who determines?
that's, again, we're getting to the whole point here, right? We're on it
Not
tonight.
only
You
who,
just express it better.
not only who determines, but there's,
Writing church constitutions for a couple of years.
not only who determines, but then
It's your
we put
experience.
ourselves on the hook for being
Biased?
biased.
Correct.
Or accused of bias.
My concern is, I'm not disagreeing with, again, the spirit of it is to ensure that we're continuing to hold people accountable. A 5-year window seems reasonable. I would assume that most people will willingly do it. Then let's not use the word "may."
Shall.
Shall would be the appropriate word, because "may," I think, again, is too much of a gray area. And then I'm trying to be as objective as possible, and "may" is not an objective term in its use here.
Right.
So I would recommend if we change that to "shall," and then it is an additional record-keeping thing, though, for staff to, as applications are coming in. But I do think it is a reasonable expectation to do that.
Right, and what I would like to suggest and look into, I have to talk to the police department to find this out for certain, but I don't know that we need to do a full background
That
investigation
would be my other
every 5
question,
years.
is, are there,
I would imagine that we could
Speedy.
do fingerprints and then just do a nationwide criminal history
Right.
check, and that would be it, so
But
that,
I think something like this would come in too, like if there's a business that has multiple violations, is falling through on our requirements for, my brain is not working today, for trainings for their staffs, for all of those things, then we have something to say, hey,
right,
so yeah. I think it's
okay. So, yeah, like I said, I want to talk to the police department. Partly, I think I'm gonna, I need to find out from them exactly what they can do,
Okay.
but I'd like to keep this as painless a process as possible for everybody.
Yep.
I just want to make sure somebody isn't getting arrested in Michigan and we don't know about it.
I think we had a question about the 50% gross receipts. Does it include video gaming?
Talked about whether you wanted that to include gaming or not.
No.
right?
I personally don't want, I want it, so the way I propose that we word the 50% issue is that, no restaurant or license shall be issued or reissued unless the sale of liquor is less than, the total gross food receipts. That's what I would propose. And then that would exclude video gaming.
I guess my concern with that, if I was going to point to one, it's the old Taco I think it's Rosie's. They have food, they have alcohol, and they have gaming, and the gaming tenfold outweighs food and liquor combined.
It's not a restaurant, though.
So then they're
Yes,
not
it
a
is.
restaurant.
They have a restaurant license.
But their main business is not a restaurant.
I know, but,
So then-
but they have a restaurant license.
Then they need
Wonder if we
to,
should change that.
This, yeah, and that's where the G is in here.
I was gonna say, I read one of those, that's what but this gets back to a point then, though. If we're setting a norm, right, we're doing with these definitions, we're
Right.
setting the norm. If we then have to adjust licensees at renewal to that new norm, then we do that,
Yeah.
right? That would be the way I would approach this. I would not want to hold back from making good decisions on good norms because, well, this would exclude here, exclude there. We would not revoke a license for a business, we wouldn't shut a business down as a result of that. What we would do is say, this is the better one, like we did this past year. We recommend this, as you renew, this is the license you should be under based on what we're seeing, based on the definitions that we are defining you by.
Or you have to make changes.
Or you make changes to, if you want to keep the one that you have. And that's what I appreciate, is there is one in there that attests to that very thing you just described.
What if we made the reporting part of the renewal application
I was curious about that, too.
and put in there a section where you report your food sales, your alcohol sales, your gaming sales, your gaming revenue, and maybe even, something else in case you do something else, bowling or whatever. Tom?
I like that idea a lot.
And then we can look, and that's for the prior year.
Yes.
So,
That allows us to make recommendations based on.
and then if somebody is either not meeting it or very close even, we can call them in and not necessarily punish them, but
Talk about it.
discuss it and see what they can do to, or if they need to change the license. Tom?
What we can do, I thought we would do in that situation is we would have a hearing and then understand why is this business is
Right,
not
yeah.
meeting the criteria and see if they are making an initiative to meet the criteria, and if they're not, then
Precisely,
recommend another license for them.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Julie, is that a problem to add a section like that to the renewal?
Not including gaming, right? What was the question? Sorry.
To add a section to the renewal license
For
where
the, report the
They
sales?
report everything.
Yeah, to the application for renewal where they're gonna report
I think that's fair.
what their sales are for the last 12.
So add a section, alcoholic liquor revenue, food revenue, if you want to have video gaming revenue, I don't know, but something that we can see that the alcohol sales is less than the food sales, and that would qualify you as a restaurant.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And if they're struggling, then we work with them, we try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not like, hey, every 2 months you gotta figure it out. It's, and you notice patterns over the years, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that if alcohol sales, for example, start to exceed food,
Right.
then we can push them off into a tavern license.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Or the other way,
Right.
theoretically. If they have a tavern license and they're selling more food than booze, then maybe we push them onto a
Then also
restaurant.
too, it's open and it's not like nobody can feel attacked. This is
Yeah.
just what we're requiring
No.
so that we can keep everybody on the same page. We're all under the same understanding.
Exactly.
We want to get everybody where there should be and what's best for them, and then there's no questions.
So, Julie, I would think we could add a section that would say food sales, alcohol sales, gaming revenue,
For the prior 12
and then an
months.
other. Maybe they get darts.
One issue that might come up is then you're adding licenses and you're removing licenses, which is a whole nother process.
But
'cause
not
it
at
goes to the
renewal,
board.
though.
Well,
But that's at renewal time. We can adjust it. We
Yeah.
did it last time.
Well, we can also add, we can also make a recommendation to the board to add more licenses so that.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
Then you would have to do all that
Ordinance, yeah.
as well.
But we
So
did
with
that
the-
at renewal time this year, so.
Well, we found places, I'm sorry, Tom.
There's no reason why a restaurant can't operate under a tavern license.
Right.
So, if they, that's not very practical because a
costly.
tavern license is more expensive,
Right.
but
But they could.
they could.
Right.
Yeah.
But there were occasions this time where we had people that were under tavern licenses that didn't have gaming, that didn't have certain things, so we recommended that they move down.
We did.
And, if they take their gaming machines out, for example, we're gonna see that in those numbers.
Right. Oh, boy.
So, okay. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Persons eligible for license.
Are we on restaurant licenses? or
Yeah,
what?
so we have to go back to the restaurant licenses now, we just went over the definition.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to get rid of the little ones first.
Okay, so where are we at?
The back pages.
309.
309?
False statements?
The thing about false statements, don't lie to us.
Okay, yes.
There's actually two. One is
I
person,
concur.
yeah.
I'm good with that one.
They both have the false
I'm
statement.
sad we have to write it, but yes, I agree.
I just didn't want to skip that over. Okay. So we're going back to the restaurant? Or where are we at?
I mean, you wanted to cover 309, or?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so
Anybody have any questions or issues with it, Tom?
do we need to add or elaborate on this? I'm asking, I'm sorry, I forget. your
Harvey?
name. I'm sorry, miss, what's your name?
What was the question?
What's your name?
Warby?
Harvey, yes. Do we need to add something here, like, something a little stronger, saying that if they falsify documents, they're liable for, false or misleading liabilities associated with it? Like, they could, get.
Well, it says you're subject to suspension,
Right.
revocation of license.
But if they file a falsified document to the village government, I mean, the state's attorney could get involved and something like that, right?
They could, but like you said, how are we gonna well, that comes into another issue. How would you know that they falsified the documents?
Well, if you have evidence that they did falsify the documents, then, I mean, that's,
So what prevents us, just because we don't have, are you saying we should write something like that in there? But, because I don't think that this prevents us from involving, say, if we need a state's attorney.
okay.
Or other, just
Yeah,
add fines
I
or
don't
other
think-
legal consequences.
Yeah, this is not inclusive of everything.
Right.
Okay.
So you could, even just add
I can add something to it, yeah.
revocation of license and/or fines and/or possible legal prosecution.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm really bad about raising my hands. I apologize. Really bad about that.
All right, so we back on restaurant now, or
Sure.
did you want to go through something else? Or I'm just trying to figure out where we're at.
I think the next ones are the E's, the restaurant.
Okay.
So my only thing was then, I think we've covered that 50% thing, so whereas it is crossed off on here, I would recommend that it's not crossed off and that we add the language which Commissioner King mentioned, on average over a year, that language. The question I guess I had that jumped out to me, again, these are easy to understand. I was able to quickly lay out the difference between 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Simple to understand, which I very much appreciate. The big questions I had is, am I to assume the use of the term liquor implies anything that's not beer or wine? Is that the idea here?
That's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that I understood. So good. Then I get that.
Sorry, where's the definition of liquor?
Well, this is why I'm asking, because I didn't see
I
the
had the same
definition.
question, yes, sorry.
So do we need to define what liquor is, or do we have a definition elsewhere and it's just not included in this packet because it's not changing?
I believe it's,
I will
Harvey, you
have
can
to
correct me, but I
look.
believe it's defined by the federal government.
It should be defined.
Okay, I was just asking, I was just making sure I understand and that it's defined somewhere, because that's how I read it, but I wanted to
Yeah.
ensure. So the only question I had that stood out to me, on this section, again, easy to understand, I think it's very straightforward, I get it. The only thing was this 2-hour rule, before closure, it only applies to 2 of them, not all of them, which I thought was an interesting thing. Why is it there's a 2-hour rule and what I mean by that is,
Or, yeah.
to serve liquor, you can stop serving food,
Right.
but you can have 2 hours. So if you look, class E3 has that, and so does E1, but 2 and 4 do not. 2 and 4 don't have gaming, so is that related to gaming? If so, what does that have anything to do with gaming? Would be my question.
Just a second.
I would say it needs to be on all of them.
That would be
Yeah.
my recommendation. Man, we are so good tonight.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like, I understand the spirit of it, right? Is we need to shut the kitchen down, but we're still
Yeah.
gonna serve beer at the bar or whatever.
Sure.
Totally get it. I just feel like it should be on all four of them. It's a reasonable thing, because here, the way it reads is, the only solution, the only nuance was it has something to do with gaming. I don't think it does.
No, it shouldn't have anything to do with.
Right, so then I would just ask, can we just add that
Yes.
to all of them, just to ensure there's uniformity? Because I think it's a good thing to have. It gives some flexibility for the business, and most places operate that way anyway. So we don't want it to be like your kitchen shuts down, you shut down.
Right.
Well, then it adds another thing. Why does this license have it? It's much more confusion than just.
Correct. So when I make my fancy little chart, they'll all have a little chart. I'm a dreamer, man.
And on that same note, we've got the 18 months in here again.
Can we do the provision on that one
Right.
as well?
Yeah.
Is there some, is there some way with that 18 months that we could get a way out of it if we chose?
I will look into that, just so I don't quote something that we can't do. Like we said, let's see if we can have the
I mean, if
village.
somebody wanted to open a bowling alley, or,
Yeah,
something dramatic, something large invested, and, I mean, we don't want to tell them no.
That's that's why we recommended the provision.
Right.
Right.
That'll go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Which I
I want to
have
make, I
written
want to
down.
make sure we've got it
Yeah.
out. Okay.
Okay.
And now we're going on to
Special events?
the F, I guess it is.
So, G, I was confused with. This is a new one.
There's a current Class G,
Okay.
and we're going to change it to an F so that we can use the G for gaming. Kind of seems silly to have gaming be an F.
I appreciate the philosophy here, but yes.
The idea with the G would be, the places like Rosie's and Stella's and whatnot, they're clearly gaming halls.
Yes.
So the idea would be that we would put them all into their own class so that we can the village board rather can legislate to that class specifically. If they want
Like
to
that
increase their
one.
rates, if they were put in special rules, and they don't have to affect like a Demito's or a Mahoney's.
I personally like having that separate classification. I think that'll help with some of the confusion. It'll make it easier for them to operate. If that is their primary receipts or gaming, then I think we should have a license that reflects that, right?
Right.
And what I like about this one is it provides the provision, and I think the language is appropriate, to which service of alcohol and food is incidental to the operation of the video gaming. You can have food there, you can serve, alcohol, but really, if we're being honest, a majority of your business model is that gaming. I think adding this is great, and I think making it G is even better. So I appreciate it, and I'd be curious if there's anything we want to change, but I like the idea of having
Right.
something like this that is its own classification. I think will be very helpful moving forward.
Right, and we have the 60% in here, we threw the 60% in just as a ballpark number that can change to whatever we choose. Tom?
So if we've got a 60% number in Class G, we should also apply a restriction to the other licenses stating that video gaming cannot be X% above the total gross receipts of these other licenses.
Would that be implied in the 50% rule,
For restaurants, but not for.
but not for tavern?
Yes.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I think to me, it's, the restaurants is fine, but yeah, are we specifying with tavern? Otherwise, at what point does a tavern become a gaming cafe?
Well, yeah.
It's a reasonable question to ask.
No, it is, but we also, I know we have established businesses, long-established businesses that do very well with the gaming. Fitz's Bulldog, I think, does about $350,000 a year on gaming alone. So what number would we set for them to remain what they are and not turn them into a gaming hall?
Well, if more than 60% of their gross revenues from gaming, then they should be under the Class G license. And if it's, let's say, 40%, then they should be under a tavern license or a restaurant license. And what we've defined as our definition for restaurant, what I proposed was that the alcohol cannot be greater than the gross food receipts. Nothing about video gaming, should we also add a restriction in here for the restaurant?
that.
Yeah, I think,
For video gaming? Because it doesn't make sense if we've got this restriction here for Class G, but for other liquor licenses, they could potentially operate at 60% revenue for video gaming under the other licenses. So I think that restriction for the other licenses needs to be in there. Let's say 30% video gaming revenue capped, or something like that. Trustee Consos?
Yeah.
Why not just increase the gaming percentage? I mean, if it's gaming is their
right,
primary.
right.
Why not just make it like 80%?
80, right.
or
I think that
five- You know what I'm saying? Rather than change all the other ones.
Right.
That's their primary money is coming from the
Higher
gaming,
threshold.
period.
Right.
Well, my point is that
tavern still.
if you have a tavern license, there's nothing, how it's written, there's nothing prohibiting you from operating at 85%
Right.
video gaming.
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
So if you have a tavern license, you could
Right.
have a gaming hall, and you're within the legal limit. There's nothing forcing you into the G license. I think we need a restriction for the tavern.
It can be high, but some restriction.
Right.
Because we've got a restriction for the Class G.
Right, right, I hear, it, yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it would just be what is a reasonable number to set.
I propose 40%, maybe 30%, I don't know. You can't consider a gaming hall a tavern,
Correct.
Right.
and you can't consider a gaming hall a restaurant.
Right.
No, my bigger concern is inappropriately changing a tavern into a gaming. That's
Right.
what I'm concerned about.
Right.
I get what you're saying about the back half of the number. We could set it on one and not the other, but
And that's exactly why we should put a restriction
Right.
on the tavern license, if that's your concern, that would address your
Yep.
concern.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then maybe also up the percentage for gaming.
Yes, I would recommend a higher number for that, because if 60% doesn't seem high enough, if the term is
5%?
incidental.
you know, I guess
incidental is not
actually if you-
40% to me, you know what I mean? Like, the way this is written, incidental is not 40. I think you could go up to 80%, and I would imagine most of those, and this might be where before
I know, that's what I.
when we propose this upward,
The
I think
definition.
having,
There's a definition of
you know, having them, the board, you know, we're giving it to the board essentially to approve, right? At the end of the day, that's what our task is, right? So we don't get final say. They're gonna do whatever they want with this, right? In other words, they may say 80's too high or 60's too low or whatever. I think giving a ballpark, but I think you're right. I think upping that number makes sense, because incidental to me is 40% is not incidental, but also adding a number for the tavern license as a starting position and letting them figure out where they really want it to land, or us maybe reaching out to some of the businesses who under tavern license and get a sense of what is your average, you know?
Right. Well, 60% of its gross revenue on an annual basis exclusively from video gaming
Right.
activities. In other words, more than half of their business is from gaming alone.
Right,
So less than half of their business is from food and alcohol.
right. But that number I would imagine those places it could be even higher, I guess is what I'm,
Look at the gaming
Well,
reports.
It could be, yeah,
you know?
but
So,
Yeah.
my reasoning behind this is, I think we really need to restrict the other licenses,
Yeah.
because the public sentiment is that we have too much video gaming in this town. We want to cap it, we want to control it. And then that's also the impression I get from the Board of Trustees. They want to
yeah.
curb the proliferation of video gaming in this town. So I imagine the Class G is probably going to be more expensive than the other licenses, but there's nothing preventing a gaming hall from getting a Class
tavern.
A license and operating that under, with a lower fee.
Well, this said, yeah, but read this again. An establishment shall be considered a video gaming cafe if at least 60% of its revenue comes from gaming.
Okay.
So if you are a gaming cafe where you're bringing in 60, 70% of your revenue from gaming, then you automatically become a G, whether you are something else in your mind or not.
Okay,
So it kind of
I
does
see what
both
you're
at the
saying.
same
Okay.
time.
I
You
see
what I'm
what
saying?
you're saying, yeah.
yes.
So I think what I'm realizing is this new G1 in some ways, not only is a new license, but it's a new definition.
It is.
At the sa- You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
essentially functions as redefining or defining, I should say, what a video gaming cafe is in the first place,
Correct.
which is unique in that elsewhere we have those definitions separated, but this makes it sound like, yeah, at that point you've become this thing.
Right, and the idea behind this is, like I said, so that the village
Yeah.
can legislate
Right.
to those licenses
Right.
specific. Maybe the village decides that those gaming parlors should be open till 10 PM, not.
Right, and then it's how you
And I'm
manage
just,
them.
I'm just
Right,
throwing something
right.
out there, but, so that, or change signage for them. You know,
So I guess my question in all of this is that sentence, an establishment shall be considered a video gaming cafe if at least 60%. That's a definition.
That is
Yeah.
the definition.
So why is this in the license? Whereas the restaurant does not give you the full definition of a restaurant, it assumes it is elsewhere written. Why is that in here, I guess, is my question. You know what I mean? Like, if
Harv?
for the sake of consistency.
Harvey?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner
I think that's
Wagner.
where I think that's where I'm getting caught up in this a little bit. Because it just
Yeah,
seems
it
like
could
an
be.
oddity to me that we're essentially establishing a definition in here, because what you just said, Joey, is, well, then you automatically become this.
Right.
Is that true or is that not? Is that implied or is that explicit here? Based on the fact that there's a definition included.
We have shall. And
This is what I'm getting at.
Shall be considered.
So what I'm saying then is, should this be separated out as a new definition, video gaming cafe, and then
Or split.
having a Class G license,
Or split.
right?
If we took everything from an establishment shall be considered, if we started there, and the rest of it all went into a definition.
That's what I'm getting at. To me, and I think maybe what I'm saying in all of this is I think that this can be reworked a little bit, because it feels like a definition was tied into the middle of it. And I think it would read easier for an applicant and be simpler to understand to say, this is what it is, and if you're applying for it, this is how it applies. Those are two different realities. So I think, to me, I would encourage maybe a little bit of a revision of G, using, teasing out the definition and then redefining the license itself would be helpful, just for the sake of ease. It can be a short one. It can, not every license needs to be 4 pages. It can be 2 sentences.
Right.
Yeah,
With the definition reference elsewhere.
I completely agree with that. I think the definition of video gaming hall should be defined back where we define restaurants for the purposes.
Yeah, we
of
can, that's what I'm
Chapter
saying.
3.
And then
We could,
referred to.
Shall,
we could take the portion from, an establishment shall be considered a video gaming cafe. From there on, we could put into the different portion as a definition.
and then,
And so,
my other question is, do we need a definition for tavern too?
That's why I'm looking at the Illinois.
I agree.
Yeah.
I had my hand up for that. And are we considering a tavern like a bar, or is there?
Tavern is a bar,
Tavern is
Okay,
a
so tavern is our bar,
correct.
because I didn't see a definition for.
I think it's that way because state law was
That's
original.
that's what I was looking. I think it's in the Liquor Control Act.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
so we just mimic them.
Or if it's in the state,
Right.
if it's in the state law, then we.
Something different, like you shouldn't be able to almost be a restaurant or a tavern. You should either be a restaurant or a tavern, or a gaming hall, or a banquet, or whatever.
Right.
You shouldn't really be able to fall into different categories. I mean, a bar is a bar. It's like a Domito's, it's like a Josephine's. It's not like a
Well, is that-
Simon's or.
Yeah, as I've said previously, in my head, you're either a bar that serves food or a restaurant that serves alcohol. You can't be both.
Yes, I agree.
So there needs to be a differentiation among those. And then, you can be a bar with gaming, but you can't be a gaming parlor with alcohol, without being on a different direction. And that's just simply so that we can legislate
Yeah.
more directly to the class of what we're dealing with. Because it's, arguably, it's not necessarily fair that liquor rates paid by, gaming halls is the same paid by bars or food service, restaurants that serve alcohol and happen to have a gaming machine. So I'd like to see that break out. a little bit, and it just gives more options. Zach?
So I'm just gonna say, for the sake of, you know, it almost being midnight, it feels like, it feels like G, it's past my bedtime. No, it feels like G needs reworking and teasing out the definition. So I would just ask if maybe we could get some support on that.
Yep.
Which then gets us to H, and I did have a question on H, even though it hasn't changed.
He's gonna do my question.
You go
No,
first.
you go first.
It curiously lacks the word liquor, which is amazing that we're so smart. The way this is currently written, it feels like if you're a grocery store or drugstore, you can only sell beer or wine.
Yeah, ours are all operating.
Wait, where are we at? H?
H.
Okay.
Beer and wine
Packaged grocery.
only.
Well, what if it's a place that wants to only sell wine?
Like Aldi only does, I think.
So then if you're a place, so let me ask this then, let's just say you're Jewel, how do they sell liquor then? What license would they have?
They would have a different license.
Where is that license?
We don't have that.
We don't have one.
He's right.
I'm just
Broken.
high five. We are like on the same wavelength tonight.
Broken.
Yeah.
Man.
I understand what you're saying. There is a difference, right? And I think what we need is both and, because I would agree, if you sell liquor, because elsewhere we differentiate liquor,
Yes.
right? That is a clear differentiation. If you look at our first two tiers that we went through, that is the distinguishing factor. It's whether or not you offer gaming and or liquor, right? That's why it's set up the way it is. So as I look at this, we have an H, totally understand what that's going for, but we're clearly lacking one
That everyone's using.
that everyone is using, which would be the both end.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I just think it could be almost
Well,
identical with this, with the difference being,
I would like to
Liquor.
point out that this is the only package
right.
description in here. We have a number of them, so maybe this should, I would like to omit this for now,
Okay.
so that we can deal with all the package at one time.
Totally understand. I just wanted to point out that that was, based on what I have in front of me, there's a clear omission in this.
Right.
Because if we don't have that, then we're definitely operating illegally in many ways. So I would assume it's somewhere, but I just want to be clear as we finalize these changes that there needs to be one that is very explicit.
Right.
That adds that. And I would imagine at a slightly different rate, because that's
Yes.
why we're doing it, you know, so.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay.
okay, so. In doing this, we're gonna remove the Class I and the Quad I. That's what these are.
So but we're also opening up
Because we're adding the others, these would come out.
we're opening up the Class E licenses to include bars. That's what we're doing. We're combining, basically,
Yes,
essentially combining the
yeah.
Class I and the Class E.
Well, no, the E, right now we got E and I, and really the only difference between the two is whether you have a bar or not.
Right. It's where you sit or stand.
Well, the way the change is that they're just omitting tables.
Right.
So the I license was if you have a bar and a restaurant together. you would
Yeah,
have
I
that.
mean, I guess in my head, the difference is if you're a Chili's and you have an actual bar in the place,
Right.
you would have to have an I. And if you're a Simon's, you're an E. And I don't see a big difference between the two, unless the bar is separated.
Right.
If it's something like, sometimes you get a restaurant where the bar and restaurant have a wall. And the bar keeps different hours.
Right.
Yep.
There is a possibility too that they could have two different licenses.
If it's separate, they would have a Class E license, and it says in here that the restaurant, that you're able to serve 2 hours after the food sales closes.
Right. But I've seen plenty of occasions where you have a restaurant that's open till 10 o'clock at night, and it's walled off from, but shares the bar, which stays open till 1 or 2 in the morning. And I'm okay with that, but theoretically, I guess you could have one building with 2 licenses. Just like I've seen bars that have package sales on, a whole liquor store attached on the side. You could have 2 licenses in that situation as well.
Okay.
Come to that road when we, the bridge when
Yeah.
we cross it, right?
Well, right, but I mean, it still
Yeah.
comes back to what we're talking about, though, is,
I did have so I just want to clarify then. special events and by the day, what would be redefined now as Class F. You could be a business with another license but request a Class F for a special occasion then? Is that what this is getting at?
Yes.
Only by bona fide educational, fraternal, political,
Right.
civic, religious,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
nonprofit organizations.
Yep.
But so you can
BFW.
have, I guess what my question is, you just said that you can have more, you can hold more than one.
This is special
This is
events.
like,
This is-
say, like, let's say Villa
Beer
Park
tent at
has
Summerfest.
something, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
has like a festival or something,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be
Beer
clear.
tent at Summerfest, so that,
Right.
a
Yeah.
regular bar can't do it.
So it's almost a limited time kind of deal for
Yeah,
those.
right. I
So
get
now,
you.
but what about like the liquor stores that have?
That's
special
what I'm
cases?
getting at.
What do
A
those
liquor
That's,
fall
that
under?
would, that's all gonna be part of the package licenses.
Okay.
Gotcha. That's where okay, thank you.
Yes.
This is weird, man. Get out of my brain. No, that's where I was driving at.
Yeah, and I don't know how this one got in here, but my thought was let's tackle the pour licenses first.
Yeah, no. I
that's
think this
fine.
one is fine, to be honest. I
Because,
was
because
just-
trust me, the liquor stores are a whole new.
Correct. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more nuance. I was just getting at
Right.
that idea of a port, so that's fine. I just wanted to be clear that you could technically hold two at the same time, and then that would be the nuance there. So that's all.
Right.
Point of clarity.
So we have the Class L.
Yeah,
We're gonna
that's-
get rid of the Quad L. That shouldn't have even been added, to be honest. The Class L is a banquet license.
Right.
The only change we're making is to specify video gaming's not allowed on a banquet license.
Okay.
Everybody currently is on a Quad L. All of the several banquet halls we
Already
have.
prohibit. Okay.
They're already
So it
not
won't-
having it, so it's.
It won't
it's-
affect anybody
no.
negatively. Good.
And really, with a banquet, you're not open all the time. You're only open by appointment, so,
Right.
you know. So that's what that is. Z, I'm sorry, Tom.
Class L, do we want to break out the definition of a banquet facility?
I was
Oh.
waiting for it.
Yeah, we should.
We should. It is, well, do we want to break it out, or do we just leave it with its own description? Because when you do that, you make it more complex for somebody trying to figure out what license they want. They got to now go back to the definitions to find out.
But all of them should be together. so
I
they
was gonna
can
say,
see.
I think for the sake of consistency.
I'm wondering if,
I deferred to the attorney.
Right.
I think that defined terms should all be in a,
They should
Okay.
all be in one little section at the beginning of the chapter.
Yep.
So I think we should break those apart.
would we then refer them in this portion of the ordinance back to the definition?
Yeah, because it's still part of that same chapter.
Okay.
In that same section.
All right, so when somebody who doesn't know our code looks at this and
They should
says,
be able to.
it should direct them, okay. All right,
And I think what that would do then is really simplify some of it would shorten these too, right? Because then your
Right.
Class L would just say, authorize retail sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on premises described in the license where the business is that of a banquet facility. You could hard stop there.
Exactly.
Video
Because
gaming is
banquet facility is
prohibited.
defined elsewhere, so
That
if you are a
would still
banquet
be
facility,
Okay, yeah, you're
that's your license, you know what I mean? It would shorten this, and then you'd have your terms and definitions at the beginning. And then
Right.
for consistency, you could have them all in a row. And I actually think that may be more helpful for potential businesses to just know, this is how each of them is defined.
Mm-hmm.
I can match up what I think my business model is, now I know where to start looking.
Right, right,
And then
right.
I can go and cross-reference what that would look like. So I like that idea.
so we also have a Z and a Quad Z. Quad Z, we're just eliminating.
got one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, the banquet facility definition, I think that needs to be thought through more because, let's say a restaurant has a private party room. So,
Well, is the restaurant typically has its own,
Banquet hall in there.
yeah, it's kind of included, it's not a,
okay.
I think this is more of a freestanding one.
Right.
right, that's, yeah,
Yeah, it's not open to the
Like
public.
exclusively.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be stated, right, that the banquet facility, that's like their primary business, greater than 50% or whatever, right?
Now you're making more work.
We like this.
Well, I mean,
But it
bank,
says it's not open to the general
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
Must be either by invitation or
right,
reservation.
right.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Simon's has a party, or excuse me, Highview has a party room.
Crazy Pour has a party room.
Crazy Pour has and now we're gonna break out, they have to get a whole other license for that room?
Right.
Yeah, you need a contract.
That's where I would argue, I see what you're saying, Tom. I would recommend, I like the fact that this just says,
Simplicity?
well, I like simplicity always, but it's a prearranged function, it's specific social or business occasion held by invitation or reservation, not open general public. I think that does a pretty good job of separating it out. Now, if your restaurant happens to have a room, you already have a license that would, I think, cover you.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I think, I see where you're going, but I think for simplicity, keeping it.
But too, like she said, they have, with the banquets, they're under contract.
Right.
So we could put some kind of wording about under contract in there.
Right.
And that definitely would,
Different than, hey, can we use the room in the back?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on?
How did we jump from L to Z?
because though there are packages.
Because this is
and-
what they already are. Yeah, don't ask me why, but this is what we're working with, what's already there. So the class Z and quad Z, we're just eliminating the quad Z. And the Z, we're adding in prohibit video gaming terminals. This applies to Safari Land and Chuck E. Cheese. They are family recreation centers. My only question, Parvey, Safari Land does have gaming machines
Yes.
already. So what happens to them if we do this? Do they just stay grandfathered, and as long as they have them, they're okay?
Yeah, we're gonna grandfather them in, because if we try to go in and, whoever's already there, I would say grandfathering them in would be the better idea than finding a new whole section for them.
Right, but if somebody new comes in.
Well, then,
Don't
no,
even-
don't start that one. We have to think about that one.
So should it say then here, prohibit video
New?
gaming terminals unless grandfathered in, or something to that effect?
Do we need to
stating-
make that specification?
It would have to be specified, so let me just make a note of that.
What if it just said, new Class Z licenses shall prohibit video gaming?
Well, new could apply to anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
Every time you read it, you get the word new.
Existing?
Same answer.
Existing.
yeah, what if they were, what
Put a
if
date
they're
in
like,
there.
oh, my building already exists, this business has been existing for a long time.
Is Safari Land the only place?
Yes.
I don't think we,
Place.
Yeah, I just think being clear that they're grandfathered in.
I mean,
I'm fine
if-
with the idea.
I don't know, what happens,
It's an exception. Yeah.
but,
Safari Land exception.
I would, yeah.
That's not where I saw this night.
okay, I'll make a note of that and look into it more,
Okay.
just
Okay.
so we know.
I mean, I guess technically we're not making, yeah. I hate the idea of making an exceptional ruling on a definition of something or in this for a single business at a single moment in history.
Right.
And I would
have a
rather.
difficult time taking the license away.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm
No,
recommending.
no, we don't wanna take.
No, no, what I'm saying is I don't think we should play around with the Z to try to accommodate the one exception to the rule, which it feels, at least at this moment, we're in agreement, should be grandfathered in for good reason. What I'm saying is, let's not mess with the definition just to accommodate that temporary situation. We just know moving forward,
Yeah.
that you're not gonna issue a Z with gambling
Yeah.
attached to it. That's the difference, right? So, just I guess my legal question is, how do we make it clear that there's an exemption to be had legally?
That's what I'm gonna look
Yeah,
into.
that,
Yeah.
that's all. I think keeping it the same makes the best sense.
Okay.
I hate changing the entire thing for one exception at one moment.
Look at us go.
Look at us doing work.
I feel like
All
we're
right.
doing things tonight. Blacked out.
Okay, so that's,
I think that's all of them,
God, I hope
right?
so.
Yeah.
One last question.
I was just gonna say, any more questions?
So 3309, what does that mean? A person who's not a good character or reputation in the community, that's rather subjective.
It is very,
Where are we at?
305, 309.
good character and reputation.
Oh, that's right. Good call.
Yeah.
We talked about this, 309.
Personnel, that's actually what's all, that's
Not
actually,
of good character.
that is already in
Yeah,
there.
that's already existing.
I understand. I think what I'm saying with Tom is,
By
What
good
is-
look,
standards.
I have pretty high standards, obviously. I
next
guess
to the man.
it's this
Yeah,
is
we're
true.
friends.
This feels. I understand it's what's there. This just feels in what is otherwise a very densely legal thing. It's like, yeah, if they seem like nice people, seems like an odd standard. So I don't know.
Just to throw you off,
that
I
means.
see that in almost every
Oh, no.
every town that I look
I
at.
hear you. It's just wild to me that given
There's a
how
lot of
much legality we've just gone through, literally, it's like, it's up to you guys. Figure it out.
I guess part of that point though is that it would be near impossible to
I
actually set
understand.
standards.
I understand.
Do we only want to talk to people with a 750 credit report?
I hear you.
And by the way, which credit agency are we
Personal
looking at?
license.
I mean, you can break it out into all kinds of specificity if you want to.
It is also gender specific, I would say, too, in which he resides. I'm just going to point out that is not inclusive.
Be they.
Don't
They.
don't tell Debbie
But
DeVito.
shouldn't it just refer to, no retail liquor license shall be issued to, like, just say something to pursuant to a criminal background check?
There's a-
something to that effect?
There's a bunch of listed of what would exclude them and what why
Right.
we can't. So I think.
You just reference that then, like
Well, it's
C
1 to
addendum.
22.
Right.
But in here, obviously, it's not. It's in our code already,
Okay.
so it might say something like that already.
See below.
But
yeah.
I still think the not good character should be gone. Who meets the following criteria, dot, dot, dot.
Well, I will point this out, and pardon me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe for a bar license, it says that in those words.
I have to meet, yeah, good character.
Yes.
Then that should be, I mean, because again, if we're setting things to standards, by whose standards? Your standards or my standards could be two completely different things.
Yes.
So I think those should be strict.
It's true. It's true.
You know, like my standards,
Yeah.
Zach's standards,
I
I'm
had
sure are
well,
very different.
Wow. Hey,
I'm just
look.
kidding. We're on
No
the
collar
same-
tonight, my friend.
But,
Yeah.
you know, I think that should be stricken because it, again, if we're clarifying things and try to make things accountable by
seems-
whose standards? According to, you know, Commissioner DiTomaso, like, you know, it's too
It's
generic.
too subjective, yes.
Probably according to President Patrick's, because in the long run, it's
Ultimately, it is, and I believe there's other portions in there.
There's a lot.
But then doesn't
Well,
this
but I
open you
mean,
up
there's
to
other
bias?
there's other portions in that definition that actually specifically
Right.
say if it, in the liquor commissioner's opinion. And this is the same thing I see in many, many towns.
I know, I'm just saying.
It seems silly, but I mean, I hear
I
it.
think that's more of the, if you look at the code, it's more
Framework.
broad. No,
Right.
it's just, it starts off broad and
Right.
then it just goes specific.
Right,
right.
So I think
I
we
hear
should
you.
start off broad and then
I
let
hear
it go
you.
into, oh, if you have a misdemeanor, felony, you murdered your neighbor, whatever it may be.
Man, that escalated quickly.
But here's the
Jeez.
thing though, but no, here's the thing, here's the thing. here's the
Something,
thing.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Especially, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Here's my thing, it says good character and reputation in the community. That's my issue, in the community. Community
another-
talks,
what
this
about another
community
community?
talks. But I'm saying it doesn't,
Okay.
in
I
the
see what you
community,
mean.
that, I mean, if we did everything by hearsay in this community, I mean, come on.
Well, I don't think we're going based off of hearsay.
But
in-
it
in the
says,
standard.
in the community.
But that's one of the 22 parts.
It's one, yeah.
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 Here's,
There's a whole lot more in there.
It just opens, I think it opens you up to bias, because,
Yeah.
well, if they're, why are they saying that I don't have good character? Who are they?
it was me. I would say, I look at this as, I feel like it's just gonna be there, and I hear what you're saying. It's, you gotta start broad, and then you narrow in. I think that we just have to be above reproach ourselves when we do this. It's just wild that that's where
But
it
I
starts.
would change it to they.
Oh, I definitely, yeah.
There's a lot of like gender changes that need to be done throughout.
Yeah,
the code in
I
general.
noticed as
Yeah.
we went through, yes, I
We
would,
have
I would just say.
chairman, they need all be chairperson.
Chairperson,
Right.
yeah, if we could change the gender neutrality of it, would be great too, but no. I'm fine with leaving one, I don't like it, I think it's ridiculous, but I don't know.
Gives us something to laugh about.
You know, it also, the vagueness also allows the liquor commissioner to not issue a license to somebody who is known to not necessarily be
Understood.
a good character.
I understand that.
But isn't necessarily, right.
I moved to strike it. I mean, what is this?
I I think it's
There's no
ridiculous.
criteria here, seriously.
We want to get
There-
away
No, there is,
from-
no, that's what she was saying. There's a lot of criteria that they didn't include in this. It's all below this.
This
Look
is
it up.
just one of
This is
22.
existing. This isn't, we're not making
Yeah.
this up. This is existing.
Yeah, one of 22. I hear you, Tom.
Let's see the entire section and look at it, because I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The next one says a person who has been convicted of a felony under any
That
federal
seems
or
more
state law in,
But, so it
if,
should say like meets the following
It does.
criteria.
Right.
It does.
but yeah, it says no retail liquor license shall
Shall
be
be
issued
issued
to. And then
Well, why
it
do
just
we
lists
start with-
everything.
Just seems goofy that
Then
you.
where does this come from? Where is this in here that good character by the community? Well, what if everybody in my neighborhood hates me for no reason?
Well, they're
Like, so then
dumb.
I don't get a license? Like, really? Like, who is setting the standard?
Everything else seems very objective based on what I'm hearing that the remainder of the list
This is
is.
a bit
This is a
subjective.
very subjective starting point is all.
Well, you know what? Here's what I suggest. Let's give Barbie a chance.
I was just gonna say, can
to
we just
come
look
back
into
and-
it?
No,
Yeah, let her look into it.
I agree.
I would also imagine, by the way, that there's probably a ton of case law that
I would
addresses
wonder,
this
yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yep, I hear you.
So I would like to see a motion to table this to this whole thing into our next meeting.
I motion that. What you just said.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. All opposed, anybody? No. Okay, commissioner comments. Almost there. Commissioner King,
No comment.
Commissioner Wagner,
No comment.
Commissioner Weiss.
Keep it up. We're doing good.
All right. I have no comments this evening. Village staff, Julie, anything to say? Tina, since you're here, anything to say? Roger
Out the
that.
door.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I do.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting concludes at 9:06 PM, 9:07 PM, excuse me. Thank you very much.